Hey, y'all, and welcome back to Statement Fees, the podcast with content exclusive only on our YouTube channel.
My name's Sita.
And I am Katherine.
Today we're doing a special extra episode for our YouTube channel.
Yes, on the interesting subject of dating in our lifetime, because we are both yuppies in big cities, and we, go on a date from time to time. Every so often.
Yes, I'm so excited about this content. I decided to wear my new hat.
Yes, I like it because it's Y2K.
Thanks.
Today we're going to go through the book, The Rules, which is by Fein and Sherrie Schneider. It's called Time-Tested Secrets for Capturing the Heart of Mr. Right. We both found it to be very thought-provoking and interesting and pertinent to today's dating age, especially because we are in a pandemic when people have lonelier hearts than ever. But
you sound like an infomercial.
Side effects may include depression, loneliness, and trust issues.
Before we get into this video, we wanted to give a little disclaimer about what we are going to talk about.
Yes, so we realize that a lot of the conversations that go on are from our perspective as heterosexual women, and so obviously they may not be applicable to a ton of relationships, but we thought it would just be an interesting conversation, but wanted to mention that it was definitely from a heterosexual female lens.
Yes, and I also wanted to add that the books that we do mention in the video also follow that same dynamic, so if you are interested in reading the books or learning more about them, just a notice that that's what it's going to be like. I think it's interesting how a lot of these rules, even though the book is pretty old, I think it's from 1995, and a lot of the rules still stand true. All right, let's get started.
Let's get into it. Be a creature unlike any other.
Thoughts?
I think you and I already are creatures unlike any other. It's just that it's sometimes hard to convey that on a first date.
Yes, but I think a component to it is the mystery. Like, you don't need to be telling everyone your whole life story and, like, all the issues that you have and issues that you may talk about with your therapist or your friend drama on the first date.
Me?
No, I wasn't saying that as a subtweet. I was just saying, like, I feel like it's good to not reveal so much information about you on the first date because it's not about, like, things that are going on in your life. It's really about trying to describe yourself, especially if that's the first time you've properly met someone.
I guess because drama is fleeting, but who you are is stagnant.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this book is that it actually brings it up, like, you should never seem like you have issues going on until later on, which I feel like is kind of unrealistic because I think, like, general public representation of having problems or having issues or things that you're working through are more socially accepted today than they were previously.
But do you still think subconsciously men are, like, turned off by hearing about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Think about it the other way, right? Like, if a guy or girl was talking to you about all of their issues the first time you've ever met them, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm here to be your therapist, not someone that you're actually interested in.
That's true. Rule 2,
don't talk to a man first, and don't ask him to dance.
I would never ask a man to dance, but I might talk to a man first. That's the premise of apps like Bumble, is that some men are so lazy that they prefer to have a woman make the first move, at least at the onset.
Apps are weird because I think it's a lazy man's app.
Yeah, it is.
But we cannot ignore the fact that it is a way for people to connect over the pandemic. But I think this kind of goes along the same vein of, like, not proposing or not doing things for the other person on the onset, because then someone gets used to it. And I feel like if you keep putting the effort in, like, let's make plans, let's do this, like, the other person gets used to it because they know that you're gonna do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, if they keep making the effort to talk to you, make plans, like, even if you don't respond,
yeah,
I feel like you can tell that they're interested.
But then what do you do if, like, someone is like, oh, like, if they're indecisive about, like, where you should go? Like, they make plans for where to go and when, but
I don't think that's an issue. Unless it's like, oh, what food do you want? I like this. What do you like? I like this. Okay, what are you feeling? Maybe this.
Are you usually, like, very decisive about where
Me?
to go and when? Yeah.
Like, if someone's like, oh, like, what are you feeling? I'd be like, oh, I've always been wanting to try this restaurant. I always have, like, a couple on the back burner that you actually realistically want to try. Also, living in a city, I feel like you never want to go to the same place twice. Like, one fun thing about dating is that you get to experience new things.
Right.
Rule 3. Don't stare at men or talk too much.
I don't ever stare at men. Do you?
I always engage in eye contact 100% of the time.
I think that's a good tip because I don't, but I think it's a good tip.
Someone told me that because of my eye contact, they think that I'm really focused and interested in what they're saying, even though I may not be.
I'm good at eye contact unless it's with someone that I actually like, because then I'll look down and to the left, which is a sign of lying.
So are you lying?
Maybe I feel that way. I talked with someone that I went on a date with about this because I was like, oh, I tend to look down and to the left because I noticed he was looking up and to the right. And he said when you look up and to the right, it's usually indicative of like, oh, you're imagining things. But when you look down to the left, it's indicative of you're lying. So I would look down to the left and then he would look up and to the right and then we would both just be looking this way.
But not at each other.
Yeah.
Do you talk too much?
I think I do because I get scared that people will like be put off by any of my issues, so I just like disclaim it.
Explain more.
Like if guys are like asking me deep personal questions about my background or whatever, then I'll tell them about like my family history and explain how like it could potentially impact my ability to trust people.
Do you think that's a good or bad thing?
It's weird because my mom always tells me like, oh, you should let guys know that like it may take a little bit for you to trust them. But she also says don't tell them like about your whole like trauma. So I don't know. I never know what is a happy medium because I'm always like, oh, like you should like just be yourself and like whatever. But then also like I don't think you can like fully be yourself. Like you kind of have to play the game. Unless you're like friends first.
Well, that's what was interesting about the rules is that they were like basically like don't fully be yourself until you're engaged. Yeah. Which I don't think is exactly the right idea because you want someone to fall in love with you for you. And no matter what is going on or whatever trauma or problems that you have, like they understand that that's a part of you and either you're working through that or that just makes you who you are. But maybe that's like the 4 months thing that your mom was talking about.
Which I was thinking about it, 4 months is about 16 dates, which is not like honestly that far into a relationship. Like give or take a few dates because like maybe you will skip a week seeing someone or like see them twice a week. So like over the course of 4 months, there's probably like 2 or 3 holidays. So it's probably only realistically like 12 dates, which is not like a crazy amount of time to begin trusting someone.
Oh, what great math. That's a good way to put it.
I think 12 dates would be a good rule because I think usually guys get scared if you see them 5 or more times. That's when they start to think like, oh, this is something committal. Because I've had a lot of things make it to 4 dates and then around 5 dates we like hit rocky territory. But I think if you hit 10 dates, then it's like, okay, this is like something real. And if you hit 12 dates is when you can like start opening up.
Okay, rule 4, don't meet him halfway or go Dutch on a date.
Okay, 100% agree.
I never used to see the problem in this, but I realized it's not about the money. And it does talk about that in the book a little bit. It really isn't about the money. It's about the effort that's going into it. And I think meet him halfway is such a good point. Yeah. Like if you know that they're like you're always expected to go to their place or always expected to travel to go see them. I think one of the examples that was brought up in the book was a long distance relationship and the woman was always asked to travel and then the guy got used to it and then she realized, oh, if she didn't travel, then the relationship doesn't exist. Yeah. And it shouldn't be that way.
Well, Rose once told me, like, after you get cuffed to a guy, they try only 75% as hard as they initially did during the courting phase. And when you get married, they try only 50%. So you better make sure that they're trying like 200% during the courting phase because as you like get to different stages of commitment, their effort will only diminish.
I believe it.
Yeah, but Duke and I always talk about that because I feel like in like gay relationships where it's 2 guys, there's not as many like standards of like, oh, you should be like doing this or this. But I feel like when it's like guy-girl, there's just like too many like historic gender dynamics in place. And like they have to show that they're willing to like go the extra mile or else it won't be worth.
But I feel like even if I was in a relationship with a woman, I think if I paid for the meal, it would be a way of me showing the effort that I'm trying to put into this.
Yeah. But they probably would want to pay the next time.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think when just you're dating, I think it's fine to split everything.
Yeah. Well, that's like it's a lesbian stereotype that like they get married really quickly because they're both like really, really inclined to commit. But it's the stereotype that gay guys like will never commit because guys don't want to biologically.
Okay. Rule 5, don't call him and rarely return his calls.
I need to be better about paying attention to this one.
I think this is a good one because when you don't answer their calls, they get concerned. And then they text you and they're like, oh, I was just doing this. Or like, oh, I was just trying to check in about this. And then they want to call you again. And they're like, what is she doing? What is she so busy? Like, what is she up to?
But what if they text you to schedule a call?
But that's fine, but you should only be calling about making plans.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's called me and it's about other stuff, I'm like, oh, well, you can just find out about this when we meet up.
But what about, like, calling randomly? What about you calling them randomly?
Why would I do that? Who has the time to do that? I have plenty of other things to do with my time.
I do that.
I'd call you.
That's true. Well, because I like a good FaceTime.
But I just don't see the point in, I guess during a pandemic it is slightly different because you'll be talking to them. Like, I guess, like, if you were to have, like, a FaceTime date, but you wouldn't spontaneously just call someone to have a FaceTime date, you know?
I do, though. It's something I need to work on.
No, I think it's fine because I think it is different in a pandemic, whereas, like, I would never call someone just to talk if I have the opportunity to meet up and see them in person.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's kind of like when you first meet someone as like a friend, like you wouldn't necessarily FaceTime them right away.
Yeah.
Because I usually find it like momentous in a friendship if you can FaceTime them, like when you first start hanging out.
Yeah.
But by then you probably have hung out like 7 or 8 times.
Maybe more.
When you FaceTime a friend.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll be more wary about my FaceTimes.
That's okay. I think that's like a cute personality trait of yours.
But even when like
so spontaneous.
But even when like talks about like, oh, I really like to FaceTime, like I prefer to FaceTime, blah blah. I took him seriously, but then he would FaceTime me and quickly try to end the call after like 10 minutes.
Well, they're not trying to have like a full-on conversation with you. If you need to gossip about something, call your friends.
Okay, that's true. You're right. It
Like,
should be a last resort.
You're also busy too, remember? You don't have the time to call him and ask him about his day. If he wants to do that, he better put a ring on your finger. That's what the book is like. It's literally like if they want to speak to you every single day and they want to wake up next to you, they should pew pew. Which, like, I was never so strict about that, but I think it is a way to protect yourself from getting hurt and also making sure that the other person is in it for the long run.
Yeah, that's a good rule.
Rule 6, always end phone calls first.
I'm also not good at this because I like to talk a lot.
But I think you should just be like, okay, well, actually I shouldn't hate on you. I feel like you do fine in the dating realm.
Are you serious? Is that a joke?
No.
No, I don't. I literally constantly feel like my dating life is one long, slow car crash.
Oh my god, really?
Yes. That's why it rarely shocks me when my dates like end in something dramatic that like makes me upset.
Do you ever think that you go into dates thinking that it's not going to go well?
Maybe.
And so you just manifest that it's not going to go well and then it doesn't go well.
Like maybe, but if I am interested in a guy where I do like his looks and I like see potential in the future, then I don't think that way. But also I think my standards for crashing and burning are like quite low. Like to me, crash and burn is like they don't respond to my text.
But that's what it's saying. Always ends phone call first. Like if you end it, then it's on your terms. It's kind of like when they text you and you don't respond.
So then what do you say when you end the phone call?
You're just like, okay, I gotta go, I'm busy. Or like, gotta go walk my dog. Oh, my friend is calling.
Yeah.
I have some things to finish up. Like, I have some loose ends to tie up. There's so many things you could say. I have to call my mom.
Okay, you're right.
I have to record the podcast. Like, there are so many things that you can say just because you are busy. And I think one thing that I really liked about all the books was that you do need to prioritize yourself. And when you do that, like, you are going to fill up your time with things that are only going to improve your life.
But what if you have nothing planned except to watch Gossip Girl for 2 hours?
But if that's like your way of like improving yourself and self-love, then go for it. Then you're just like, gotta go do some research for my podcast.
Gotta go do some research. Play on Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Season 3, episode 12, Thanksgiving episode. Like, when he said he liked FaceTiming, I was like, okay. When he was like, oh, like, I really like to FaceTime, I figured that meant we would talk for, like, at least 10 minutes when we would FaceTime. But then he would FaceTime me, and then, like, 12 minutes in would be like, okay, like, I guess I'm gonna go to sleep now. And then I would be, like, in the middle of a sentence when he interrupts me and says that, and then he's like, oh, no, like, say what you were gonna say. And then I'm like, no, like, it's fine, you're gonna end the call.
That is weird.
So, like, he would end it first.
No one should be interrupting you.
Yeah.
That means they don't respect what you're saying. That means he's thinking about, oh, when can I interrupt her to say this?
You really are a smart cookie. You have a lot going up on there.
It's the hat. Okay, rule 7. I really like this rule, and I've, like, implemented it recently, as in, like, post-July. Okay, don't accept a Saturday night date after Wednesday.
Now I understand why it's a good rule, but I think when I first read it, I was like, whoa, I actually do this a lot because I'm, like, totally willing to sacrifice, like, my own dignity just because I want to see them.
But why?
I guess because, like, it would make me happy to, like, hang out with them, so, like, why wouldn't I say yes?
You can use that time to hang out with your friends, hang out with your family.
Yeah. It's just hard for me to separate, like, when I actually do enjoy spending time with them over, like, some things.
Well, I think it's also because you don't know your deal breakers.
Really? What do you think are my deal breakers?
Disrespect, and that's it. And, like, being arrogant or rude. Like, classic,
Yeah.
like...
What would other deal breakers be?
Bad hygiene. Smell bad. Bad hands and fingers, like, don't look like... Not that they need to go get manicures, but I feel like how a guy's hands look actually really matters.
Living in a bleep.
Your problem, not mine. Like, I don't like when people talk too much about themselves.
I guess it's because I'm such a social creature that sometimes I would prefer to socialize, even if I, like, don't think we're, like, meant to be. I enjoy the process of, like, socializing and, like, getting to know someone.
I think you haven't gotten to the point where you're like, I have enough friends.
Oh. I don't know if I ever will.
I didn't think that either, but I think that now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? What makes you think that?
Because I just don't see the need. Like, I'm always down to have, like, close friends or, like, good friends. Always, like, interested in meeting new people. But I have, like, a core group of friends that I don't think and at this point in my life, I'm very happy with where that's at. Like, I know I can rely on these people, and I know they will be there if I'm going through something. And I don't know if I just want to put that much investment in someone else, because not that friendships have to be transactional, but when you're really close with someone, like, as much as they're going to be there for you, you have to be there for them. And in the past, I feel like I did that for a lot of people, and it would just make me, like, so emotionally drained, because you're carrying the weight of, like, other people. And so I think it's only worthwhile to do for people who it's somewhat, like, equal contribution.
Right.
So I'll be, like, friends with people, but, like, also I think at this age, like, with your career and stuff, one thing that I always think about is that no one's gonna put the work in other than myself to progress, like, where I'm gonna be at. So I'd rather put my time into myself.
Yeah. Post-college wisdom.
No, but I was, like, the same way literally a year ago.
Yeah.
And then being friends with, like, Ditha and Ellen, and they were like, well, like, we came into this master's program never thinking we would make new friends, let alone best friends. And it just happens when it's supposed to happen. Rule 8: fill up your time before the date.
I agree with this one. I've done this forever.
Really?
Yeah. When I was a first year, I used to like stack dates because I was like, I don't want more than, like, an hour and a half allotted for this.
I think that's smart. I think the mistake that people make is, like, having these really, really long dates where they go on for hours. I think the max amount of time you should be spending with someone at a time, like, when you're just dating them,
Is an hour and a half.
is 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah. Because if you think about it, dinner, then you go for drinks and maybe another drink. Or, like, you go see an exhibit or something, you go do something, then you go get a meal and drinks afterwards. Like, it kind of works out.
I would say that's my average. Like,
Okay.
my first...
We're going to skip a couple rules because it talks about specifics on dates, and I don't think we need to get into that. Rule 11, always end the date first.
Oh, that's interesting. I feel like it comes to a natural end. Like, I don't feel like anyone ends it.
Oh. Well, sometimes I have been like, oh, I need to go to let my dog out. Or I want you to go home because I have an early morning. I think it's more so when people ask you to hang out even more time and it gets late. I feel like that's just not always a good idea.
Like, I feel like for me, it's usually dinner and then drinks, then like end. Then he walks me to my car, that's it.
But I think like if you went for a lunch date or went for coffee or something, you have to end it at some point. Oh my gosh. Okay, rule 12, stop dating him if he doesn't buy you a romantic gift for your birthday or Valentine's Day.
I don't think I've ever dated someone during my birthday or Valentine's Day.
I have.
I would agree though. Like if I was past a third date, I would expect it.
I think it's hard to expect from like when you're just dating. Like if you're in a relationship, it's a different story.
But at what point would you expect a gift?
But that's the thing, with the holidays coming up, I don't expect a gift from anyone.
Yeah, I never have either.
I wouldn't stop dating someone if they didn't buy me a gift.
Same.
I think that's a lot to ask. Rule 13, don't see him more than once or twice a week. Katherine?
You know I disobey this rule.
Why?
It's because when I'm seeing someone, I can't like see more than one person at a time. Like even if I am, I'll always rank them internally and like know who's the best. And if they ask me to hang out more than twice, if it makes me happy to do it, then I'll do it. I think a lot of it is motivated by the fact that I'm such an extrovert. Like I crave social attention.
But why don't you hang out with your friends?
Because it's something new.
But then make new friends.
Okay, fine, you caught me. I like romantic attention.
Like I see the whole point, like why wouldn't you, but...
Because it's like exciting.
Yeah, but like I also find like things I find exciting are like my wine nights during the week or watching The Bachelorette with Ellen and like going and like cooking food together, which are like date-like things too, but I would rather like at the end of the day I know my friends are always going to be there. You should put in time into those relationships too.
Yeah, you're a better person than I am.
No, I'm not. But I just think like you have better things to do than hang out every single day with someone.
That's true. This vlog should be titled Sita Teaches Katherine How to Date.
I was thinking that. I was going to ask you that in the elevator. Like, what would be the most clickbaity, like, title?
I feel
like I shouldn't be teaching anyone.
Anyone
who sees the title would be like, why is this a thing?
The most clickbait title would be Thought Learns How to Date.
My mom being like, what's a thought? Yeah. I just think it's good to space things out. It's kind of like the whole mysteriousness thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you want to make sure that you're giving enough time for them to miss you. Well, it's like, okay, when people go really fast into relationships, it's like, the faster you get together, the faster you, like, get apart. Have you ever heard of that?
No, but I guess it's because I'm such a romantic, so when I hear about stories, like, there's this influencer, Chelsea Jade Curtis, who has like a podcast with her best friend. It's the same video that I sent you, the TikTok. Mm-hmm. And she met her husband and they got engaged after 4 months. And they've been together for like 3 years.
I don't think that's that bad. I think like if someone gets married after like 6 months, it's like a little like, you should maybe. But I don't know. Everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
I think these are generalizations, these rules. Rule 14, no more than casual kissing on the first date.
Agreed. I rarely do that.
Yeah.
I don't even kiss guys on the first date.
But I think that, like, if you have met them before and you go on a date with them, then I think it's okay to kiss them. I think if they're a complete stranger, there's no way it's okay to kiss them. They're a complete stranger. They could have diseases.
I still don't, but I'm not trustworthy.
Rule 16. Don't tell him what to do.
Okay, I think it's interesting because I think sometimes, like, there's a difference, obviously, between, like I think in this sense, it's nagging. Like, you don't want to be, like, nagging a man ever. But also, I think men low-key like it when you give them structure or if you, like, scold them or, like let them know, like, what you like.
Because I think about, like, past interactions I've had where it's been like, oh, like, I don't like this, but because it's not their own preference and they're not doing it out of their own, like, volition, they don't do it. They don't stick to it. They can say whatever, but they don't actually do it because they don't believe it inherently.
Yeah, my mom always says, like, men are like dogs and you have to train them through action.
Oh my goodness. When I was reading that other book, I was literally like, these directions are the same thing as when you train a dog. Like, you don't tell them any negative things.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell them, like, ugh, bad dog, like, don't do that again, right? Because they don't recognize what you're saying. But only positive reinforcement. And I was like, wow. So you're basically telling us to train men like dogs.
So when they do something bad, though, then it's just no reinforcement.
Well, I think it's like, it depends to what extent, right? Like, I think one thing that other book says is like if there's something you want a certain way, let him do the way that he wants and then figure out a way to just make it your way.
Mm-hmm.
Or like figure out a way to make him see like that's the way he needs. Like, if he wants you to do laundry and you're like, I don't do laundry, you should do laundry, and then you mess up the laundry, and then, like, I think that was the example, like, you mess up the laundry, and then he'll never ask you to do it again.
Yeah, if you put a red sock in his whites.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
It was. And I think this leads into Rule 17, let him take the lead.
The man is the head, but the woman is the neck. Big fat Greek wedding.
20, be honest but mysterious. Thoughts?
Well, I'm such a transparent person that it's hard for me to be mysterious. Because even with, like, people that I'm meeting for the first time, if it's just, like, a friend, I will always, like, be totally transparent. I think that's my way of connecting with people is being vulnerable with them. Yeah, I guess I don't really know where to, like, draw the line, because I've done the, like, 36 questions to fall in love with someone, and one of the questions is tell your life story in 4 minutes. And usually people, like, measure their life with trauma, right? Like, that's when you, like, see, like, the big events, is the moments of, like, big emotion, is what you describe. That's how you measure time. And so, like, I've done that with guys where I give them, like, nothing more than 45 seconds worth of information, but then I feel like they don't even know the real me. But then I've done it where, like, I speak for, like, a full 4 minutes and I give, like, everything.
That's interesting, because when I speak about my life, I dictate it by the places that I've lived and the schools that I've gone to. Rule 22, don't live with a man or leave your things in his apartment.
I literally never do this, and I would never, because in the book, The Defining Decade, they say that your relationship is more inclined to end if you move in with someone without any commitment. Like, you have to be at least engaged.
Agreed completely.
Yeah.
I don't even think I would be engaged.
Same.
I think it would be married.
Same. I
think that both is, like, traditional, like, values for my family, traditional and cultural values, but then also I think there are just so many things, like, there's no reason for you to stay together if there's one issue while living together. And obviously when you live together, you're gonna see everything.
Yeah. And I would never leave things in a guy's apartment, because I used to know someone from Wellesley who would purposefully leave one thing at every man's place so that she would have a reason to go back. And she ended up getting cuffed to the guy that she used to always leave her Swell bottle at. But I would never ever do that, because A, I don't like to be without my things. B, I think it comes across as messy.
Agreed. All right. Yeah, the rest of them are, like, follow through, and then more so specific situations too, if you're in college or high school or have kids.
So your final takeaway thoughts?
I think throughout all the books, one of the things that I thought was a common thread is that you should be prioritizing yourself first, and no one should be getting in the way of the things that you need to do to maintain your own well-being. So, like, if you work out every day, like, don't cancel your workout to go make time for this guy. Or if you're supposed to hang out with your friends, like, don't cancel last minute to hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
Or I think the whole thing, like, this all definitely works when you have multiple options as well. Because I think a lot of it is like, oh, don't show too much interest. And I think by not showing too much interest or not constantly, like, worrying or being aware of when they're not responding or they're not responding in the way that you want,
you won't notice if you have other people.
Yeah.
I know, I agree. I think the best solution for when you are needing to get over someone is to get under someone.
See, the thing is, I don't necessarily think that's true.
Not sexually, emotionally, get under someone else.
Yes, but I also think, like, dating too quickly can remind you of things in the past, and then you're just kind of in this cycle.
That's what I've been thinking about recently, because I feel like if I've been hurt recently, I feel like the best solution is to, like, oh, like, date someone else, like, see if it's better. But then, like, more sensitive than I usually am, and, like, increasingly jaded.
Well, that's the thing. I think it goes back to, like, you need to take all the steps to do everything to improve yourself and maintain yourself, and, you know, do all those things that are going to bring you back to equilibrium so that you're okay moving on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, excellent session, Dr. Dandeker. I feel new and improved.
What's your advice?
My advice is, I think just to, like, make sure that you're prioritizing yourself. Never put a man above yourself or your friends, especially. And also to always have more than one option until you get cuffed, and then stay loyal.
Which I think a lot of it's easier said than done, especially when you're younger and you want attention.
I know, that's the thing. I think I give really good relationship advice, even though I've never been in a relationship. And then when I do give advice, it makes me feel like Gandhi. But when, but I can never take my own advice. Like, I'll be in situations that remind me of things that my friends have gone through where I've given them advice and I can't even take it myself.
So I wonder if you started to take that advice, what differences you would experience.
I know. Who knows?
Only time will tell. But I think that one thing is like trial and error, you know? Like, things are gonna work differently for everyone and their personality is like, maybe being transparent is like your way of doing things, because I think you are a very transparent and honest person. One thing is, I think one really good piece of advice is never hide anything from your friends.
Yeah.
Because I think you're just being dishonest to yourself. Also, in the case of safety, like, that's a big thing people need to be concerned about.
That's true.
Like, if you are going on a date or something, just let someone know.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let's have a fun question. I feel like this has been way too serious. What's your go-to first date outfit?
It depends what time of year it is. If it's warm out, it's something with a little bit of clavicle, a mini skirt, and short heels. But if it's during the winter, it's skinny jeans, a mesh top that's still classy, and heels. And almost always heels, because if they're short, they need to get over it, and if they're tall, I'll know. What's yours?
Okay, I used to go with a basic outfit at first, because you never know how people are going to react. But then I realized, no, that is not me. I usually wear, you know what I do actually? I test out an outfit earlier in the week, and if I'm feeling it, I'll wear that. And then for the most part, even if it's really alt or out there, they comment on it.
Yeah. No, I think it's good to have bold apparel if you are a bold person.
I don't think I'm a bold person.
I think fashion-wise, you make decisions that are unique. Like, even this hat, not many would wear it.
All right.
Sayonara. Do.
Hey.